Negativity. I think that negativity is a part of life. Negativity is basically the devil. The Bible says that the devil is like the enemy is like a lion waiting for its prey. And so I think negativity could be found anywhere. You know, it could be created out of anything. You know, and so I think that regardless of the situation, regardless of the situation or the level of negativity, the most important thing, because I mean, you could say that the situation of negativity, for example, a bar, you go into a bar that's well known for bar fights, and you say to yourself, if I go into that bar, there's a good chance that I could get beat up. That's the level of negativity versus, um, I don't know, making a decision like going drunk, driving drunk, you know, the level of negativity. What's the outcome? What's the worst that can happen? Regardless of the situation or the level of negativity, you know, the most important thing is to recognize it, to recognize the negativity. You know, that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter, but the most important is recognizing, because if you don't recognize, if you don't recognize, for example, like this bar, like I said, that is known for bar fights, you know, etc., 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 for prostitution, for this, for that. If you go in that place without knowing over and repetitively, you know, not being conscious of it, that sooner or later you're gonna get beat up. That although you might see a fight or two, you're gonna end up getting beat up. You know, versus knowing, hey, you know what? In that bar, they fight a lot. They fight a lot constantly, and this and this and that. Let's just go to this one over here. There's a difference. There's a difference, and so the acknowledging the negativity is the most important thing of all, because how would you say it? That's in that manner you're able you're able to how would you say it? You know what, I'm gonna stay away from this area, I'm gonna stay away from this area, I'm gonna stay away from this area, I'm gonna stay away from this area. Why? Because the percentage because of the percentage of someone insulting you, you know is there, and you recognize it. Hey, you know what? Every time I pass by there, someone talks shit to me. Hey, you know what? Every time I pass by there, some aggressive individual comes out to be like puffing his chest and fluffing his feathers. I'm gonna stay away from that area. You know, it's recognizing the negativity, because in the ghetto, somewhere where I always find myself in, there's negative people everywhere. You know, negative people everywhere, and you have to stay away from them. Sometimes they're even driving brand new SUVs. Brand new SUVs. Like, wow. You can't tell nobody nothing. It's not just, you know, the ones that are, lurking, acting poor or acting the gangster part. No, it's everybody. And so I learned to say, you know what? recognize the negativity. You know, the other day, I mean, like I said, there's this guy that comes off of a brand new SUV to kick me when I didn't do nothing. I didn't say nothing to him. I didn't do nothing to him. I mean, I was pointing the camera at him, but other than that, I didn't say nothing to him. I didn't do nothing to him. Comes off his brand new SUV to beat the living shit out of me. And so it's everywhere. You have to recognize it. You know, it's not just the gangsters, it's everyone. And you have to learn to stay away from it, to steer clear, to walk in the shadows, to walk in the shadows, to stay away from it, to let them, to give, if you're not gonna argue with an idiot, you give him the reason. You say yes, 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 whatever you say, because he's gonna get mad, and once he gets mad, he'll get aggressive. You know, turning your cheek. You know, that's what the Bible says. A lot of people have asked me, if somebody was to come up to you to rob you, what would you do? I would say I'll give him whatever he wants. He said, what if you have a family? What if you have your family and they want to rob you? They want to rob you and they want to rape your wife. What would you do? Would you defend? Would you use a gun? Would you resort to violence? What would you do? Is what a lot of people have asked me. A lot of people have asked me. And so, like I said, it's recognizing the negativity, learning to stay away from it. You know, worst case scenario, focus on the worst case scenario. What happened to Jesus Christ? You know, what happened to Jesus Christ for talking, for being right, for staying away from sin? What happened to him? They killed him. All because he was speaking the truth. You have to be prepared for the worst. And so, me, all I know is that eventually the government comes out of hiding. I don't care about life anymore. And so, that's what I have to say about negativity. That you have to learn to accept it, to how would you say it, to acknowledge it. You know, that's the most important part. You know, to recognize it, to understand it wherever you see it. Because these people that are in the lower part of society, they'll make up a reason to get mad. You know, they'll make up a reason. It's a trick that they pull out of their sleeve. You know, I've seen it done over and over again. And so, like I said, you just have to give them the reason. Give them the reason. You know, say yes, yes, and back away. And like I said, turn the other cheek. When it leads to violence, don't fight back. Don't fight back because it's only going to get worse. How can you stop a aggressive individual from hitting you? How could you stop somebody from hitting you? When it leads to that, what happens? People get mad. They try to defend themselves. You can't do that. And the best thing that you could do is recognize negativity when you see it and run from it. That's the advice that I have to give.